the recording button, Jean.
There we go.
All right, I did it.
Okay.
Okay, the introduction has been made, and I thank you very much. And thanks very much for inviting me. I'm delighted to hear that my work helped you get into the looking at older quilts, which not all quilt makers do. It kind of surprises me to, I'm so enamored of quilt history and older quilts that it always surprises me when quilt makers are not so interested. Let's see if we can get some interest going tonight. Um, I'm going to talk to you today about Dearest Quilts, a collector's approach. And before I start, I just want to say that um, I'm a collector. I've been a collector since 1966, and I have lots of wonderful quilts in my collection, and choosing them for this talk is always difficult. I try to change them around a lot, but you will see quilts that are either in my collection or have been in my collection. I'm also a dealer, as mentioned, and that's one of the things I want to talk to you about is what it means to be a dealer and collector. There are people who are one or the other, and a few of us who are both dealers and collectors. Um, I am not a quilt maker myself. I admire you guys and envy you. Um, People seem to be surprised somehow that I could be a quilt dealer without and collector without being a quilt maker, and I'm not. It's small motor movement like that is very difficult for me. But it occurred to me as I was thinking about it over the years that what I do is not so unlike what you do as a process, as a creative process. So here I've put a slide talk to a PowerPoint together. I've taken disparate things and tried to put them together in a way that is meaningful and hopefully beautiful and interesting. I do that in my shop every day. I'm taking disparate things and bringing them together. I do it when I write a book. I do it when I curate an exhibition. And that's mainly what you guys are doing. And that may sound so what? So doesn't everybody? No, my mom, late in her life, became a stone sculptor, and her creative process worked backwards from mine. She's going into the stone looking for what's there. She's taking away, and what we're doing is a kind of assemblage or collage in fabric, and what that's what you guys are doing. And in a way, it's exactly what I'm doing. So I think I understand your process, and I certainly respect it. Um, One of the things about being a collector and a dealer together is that people expect that they sometimes wonder whether we dealers keep the best things for ourselves. And first of all, um, this is my 60th year of collecting. I started in 1966 and opened a shop in 1972. Um, and so there a lot of quilts have come in and out of my collection, and it's not that I have a huge overbearing number of quilts. I kind of change them out. But a lot of people feel that what we collect is the best. And of course, I'm collecting what I think is the best, but as you'll see, it's not what everybody considers the best. Um, this is one of the high style quilts that I have collected. Um, and it dates to about 1850. And you're looking at the trapuntoed quilting and stipple quilting as well as applique and button stitch. Let me see if I have a picture of the whole. That's a picture of the whole thing. You can't see the quilting very well, but you can see the overall. Um, and that is one of the high style quilts, the kind of quilt that some people presume I own a million of and I own the very best of. I do own a few of these high style quilts and or have. And I wanted to just show you the kind of thing that people might think that I have lots of, and I don't. This is a rotary purse or cutout chintz applique quilt from the 1840s. It's a Virginia quilt, and I owned it for a short time and then sold it to a collector. You you all, I'm going to presume that you know what broderie purse is, which is in fact cut out chintz. And these were made at a time in America. They were made at a time when fabric, we didn't have a developed textile industry in the early part of the 19th century. It was just getting started. And so fabric was imported from overseas, and that made it extremely expensive. And what that meant was the women in the very earliest days of quilts in America were not poor and picking up pieces that, they had. There's a kind of myth that is widespread and easily shared that quilts started because people just had little pieces and they had to put them together. In fact, as we do our historical research, what we find is the very first quilts in America were made by the wealthiest women. And even being wealthy, the fabric from Europe and Asia and wherever was very, very expensive because it was imported. And so they would get large pieces of chintz, which they loved, and instead of having a whole cloth chintz quilt, which would be very, very expensive, they found a way to cut out designs from the chintz and applique it onto a white cotton background. Very often, these early quilts are medallion style, which is a style we inherited from the English. Um, our earliest quilts were not block style quilts, but rather central medallion, whole cloth, meaning just one or two pieces of fabric quilted, or one patch like all over hexagon or diamond shape all over, making an overall design, or strippy or bars. But we did not inherit the style that became really American, which is block style quilting. We can talk about that a little bit later as well. And here, a close-up of that last one with an appliqued dogtooth inner border and the chintz that's been cut out um, in various forms. Baltimore album quilts. I have never owned a Baltimore album quilt for very long, but I have owned them for a short time. I've never kept one in my collection. They're a little bit too, they scare me a little bit. They're worth a lot of money, and they're not the kind of thing that I would feel comfortable putting up on my wall. So over the years, I've probably bought and sold maybe a dozen Baltimore album quilts, and this was one of them. It's now at the International Quilt Museum in Lincoln, but it was once part of the Esprit collection in San Francisco, of which I was curator. That's a whole other story. But this is a quilt that was made for Eleanor Gorsuch in 1845, and it's a pretty spectacular example of a Baltimore album quilt. Um, these quilts that were made between about 1840 and 1854, or something like that, during a limited time period and in a limited place. Baltimore, it's a fascinating history of those quilts. So those are the kinds of quilts that I have some of, but I have found over the years that what really appeals to me are quilts that are the best word I can find for it is memorable. So, how many grandmother's flower gardens have I seen in my 60 years of collecting? Probably tens of thousands. Maybe that's too many, but let's say 5,000. I don't know how many, lots. Um, Very few of them are memorable to me. They're generic. However, um, I if I see one that is outstanding in some way, has personality, and that might come in the form of tiny. There might be teeny tiny hexagons, and that would make that quilt outstanding for me. There might be some kind of unusual or odd border, um, but I need to look at a quilt and think, oh, I've never seen one quite like that before. So that's really what I'm going to show you. And just because I'm going to show you. Um, I do have a shop. It's in Berkeley. It's called Julie Silber Quilts, and it's wonderful. It's a little shop. I didn't really mean to have a shop, but it kind of fell in my lap when I was about 79 years old, and I went for it. So this is the two of the four windows that I have with a couple of quilts. The one on the left, here it is, out flat, and that's a cigar band quilt. Um, these cigar bands are silk, and they were used to tie cigars in bundles that then went into the cigar boxes that we're familiar with. Um, and what they did was they printed the name of the, I wonder if I can figure out how to make this bigger for you guys. I've forgotten how to do that. Um, what you're seeing in black is the name of the brand of the cigar. And in this case, this quilt maker, whose name we don't know anymore, seems to have had access to one company or one or two companies that printed um, their labels in black, and they're about they. So she had a lot multiples. It isn't always done that way. Um, there are these are the colors that we usually see. Um, in these golds and yellows, but every once in a while, here's a white one. Every once in a while, we see there are reds and purples and greens, and women could do all kinds of really interesting things with these. Um, Mostly what they did was make use the cigar bands to make a design that became a pillow for the parlor. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of embroidery, um, and there aren't as many quilts by far as there are small pieces. I've had a couple dozen probably in my time. Um, and this one I thought was particularly graphic and really enjoyed it for its kind of symmetry and pleasing design, at least to my eye. These cigar bands and other printed material, either flannel or often silk, were made as premiums. The tobacco industry figured out that women were starting to not like that their men were chewing or smoking tobacco. It seemed it came to be seen as kind of a dirty habit, and the women were discouraging their men or being mad at their men for doing it. So the tobacco industry figured out that if they put something free inside the packages of tobacco or cigars or cigarettes, that was fabric, and then suggested women use them to make things, they'd sell more tobacco, and you'll never guess what happened. It worked. Um, so that's why we see a whole genre of quilt made around the turn of the century. This would be maybe 1890 to 1910, when the tobacco companies were actually encouraging women to use these pieces to make textiles. And they did very well. It was a good marketing move. This is the inside of my shop on a random day. Um, One section of my shop. I deal in vintage and antique quilts. I used to say, and I think this is where the introduction stopped me in 1950. I actually, the longer I live, the more new things become vintage and antique. So I actually go up to about 1970 or 75 now. And these are all 19th century. No, the top one is not. The top one is 1940s. That was a really interesting quilt, um, which you're going to have to imagine the rest of. But it looked to me like it's a 1940s quilt that doesn't look like any others I've seen, but it does look a lot like those 1940s tablecloths. And that would be my guess about the maker's inspiration. The ones below, it's a wonderful house quilt that is unusual in that you can see that its chimney is a nine patch. And instead of being solid pieces that make up the frame of the house, they're striped pieces. And that, for a long time, I thought that was a one of a kind. And then I saw, like 30 years later, I saw another quilt made just the same way. The chimney was a 16 patch, but the houses or schoolhouses or jails were made of strips, and that's unusual. Just a nice album quilt below and a small scale baskets below that. The bottom three are 19th century and the top one's about 1940. I thought I'd show you what's on my walls or recently off my walls. I'm in my living room at the moment, and quite recently I changed the quilt to my right, which I'll show you in a minute. And this is down now. I just loved this applique quilt because I like how dense it is. I'm drawn to the colors, and I just love the unique way this woman did a border. She made that plaid. That's all. I do have a detail. Yeah. She appliqued strips to make a plaid. And I don't think I've ever seen that before. And it works because it's so, at least from my eye, it works really well. And I think it only works because she used the same colors in the borders as she did in the center. But that one's down. Let me see if I can show you. This is what has taken its place. I don't even know if I can really, there you go. Just a little corner of it. Um, and this is a house quilt that I really liked because each one is just so different. Um, and they're it's not so formulaic as there's a schoolhouse or house pattern. There's several of them that were published, and this one kind of relates to one that's called Honeymoon Cottage that I think was a McKim design, but this woman just did it her own way. She wasn't precise about her cutting of her blocks. Um, and she used all these different fabrics and played with them. The relationship between the house fabric and the roof fabric, it's just really fun to look at. And so I have that with me right here to my right. And right behind me, you can see this quilt. It's relatively small. It's simple. Here, I'll show you some details. I have nicknames for a lot of my quilts, and this one I'll go back for a second, the Universe quilt, just because I sometimes try to sit in a dim light and pretend it's a planetarium or something. Um, but I love it because I just love how it looks and I like being around it. But I also love it because of the mystery. And the mystery is why? Why did she do it quite this way? And we'll never know. But I like when I give these talks, and if anybody wants to unmute at any time, please do. I'm happy, more than happy to have interaction if you've got something to say or ask. But when I used to do this in person, or, come to the guilds in person, people would yell stuff out, and somebody yelled out, "Oh, she was a really slow quilt maker. She started out with a crib quilt, and the next thing she knew, he was 14. So she had to expand it. And then she also figured out that she didn't want to do anything as dense. But it occurred to me, I think I've owned this quilt for 50 years, probably. I really love it. Um, it occurred to me just recently that if this was on a day bed or a single bed, which it might just fit, if the bed was up against the wall, she could put it on in such a way that the dark rectangle would be in the middle of the bed, depending. So you'd have to turn it around, but that would actually work. And I don't know if I'm making any sense, but that's a possibility. But it doesn't explain why the center is so dense and the surrounding is not. The fabrics, as you might be able to see here, this quilt dates to about 1890. And the fabrics in the center relate to, there's repeats of the fabrics in the center to the outside. So it's not like somebody found the inside and with completely different fabrics enlarged it. Somebody used the same fabrics, but just less dense. Anyway, memorable, as is this one. Um, there are very few quilts. I've sold so many quilts in my life. I can't even begin to count. And I've sometimes sold quilts out of my collection. And I'm not kidding. I don't think I've had 10 quilts that I've sold and feel sad that I did. When quilts come into my inventory at my shop, I don't even really feel like I own them. I feel like I'm sort of an adoption agency or something. I don't, it's kind of like I don't feel I own them. But when I bring them home and they're in my collection and I use them in exhibitions or they're published in books and um, borrowed for, for museums or whatever, um, every once in a while I will sell one that I don't know, I'm just sorry I did. I bought this so long ago. I remember that I sold it in 1988. So it's been a while. Um but um gosh, I think I didn't really understand exactly how unique it was because in 1988 I hadn't seen as many quilts as I have now. And I know that this is now a one of a kind. It's not like this is a published pattern or a kit. Um, Dates to about 1880 or 70 or 80. And this is a place where I want to tell you that I used to call this quilt the chicken quilt, and come to find out from people who know chickens better than I that this is probably a rooster. And many people don't know this, that currently the mascots or symbols of the two large parties in the United States, the Republicans have an elephant and the Democrats have a donkey. But that wasn't always the case. And in fact, before the donkey, the last mascot or symbol of the Democratic Party was a rooster. And so we don't know because we don't have the history on this quilt, but it's possible that a woman was expressing her preference, her political preference, years before women won the vote. She was expressing her opinions this way. Uh,
We have one question and one comment.
sure.
Jessica says her mom needs this quilt.
This
And
quilt,
yeah, her mom needs this quilt. And Carolyn asks, what precautions do you take when hanging a quilt in your home?
okay, I will tell you that. Um, let's see. She used the word precautions. There are two things that I think you should watch out for if you're hanging a quilt in your home. One is if you live in an older home and there's, let's say, a heat register on the ground. I've lived in houses like that. You don't want a big change in temperature for your quilt. So don't hang it on a wall that has a uh, intensely changing heat element. The other is windows, and windows and sun will fade a quilt. So you either want to, um, I spend a lot of time in this living room. Every morning I get up and I close the shades. And when I get home from work or it gets to be 3 or 4 o'clock, I take the shades down. I'm just careful to do that. Well, there's two in this room, and neither of them is in direct line of the sun, except for a couple of months in the winter when the sun is very low. The house quilt sometimes gets sun on it, so if I close the shades, I that takes care of that. And also, uh, I should hastily add, don't leave your quilts up for too long. You don't want quilts up for longer than about 6 months, and that's not about fading. That's about, somebody explained it to me this way, elasticity. Think of a rubber band, she told me. If you put a stone, a weight on the bottom of a rubber band and held it or, hung it like that, pretty soon the rubber band would entirely lose its elasticity. But if you took the weight off every other day or every other week, it would regain its elasticity, and then it could take this weight again. And that's what's happening with the fibers in a cotton quilt. That if gravity is pulling on them and you just don't want to leave them up for too long, um, you can either turn them upside down if they work that way, or just change them out. But I hope that answers most of your concerns, and that's what I do. I change them a lot, and I don't let direct sun onto them. And another person, another curator once said to me, store your quilts in your house in a place where you would live. You wouldn't live in a garage, you wouldn't live in an attic. So you want to store your quilts, whether they're on the wall or folded, in some temperate part of the house where it's not too hot, cold, or wet. Hope that answers the question, and we'll go on. Okay, so this is where a lot of audiences think I'm out of my mind, and I may be. I love this quilt. um, I got it in East Texas, and I'm pretty sure that's where it was made, although I do not know by whom, nor did the person I bought it from. But I just think I mean, talk about memorable or personality. This has it all. And do I think it's beautiful? Not, not conventionally, but I do think that it's wonderful. Um, it dates to about 1960, judging by the fabrics, and you can see that the bodies, I think I have a detail here. The bodies and the wings are string, like string quilt. And the heads are all the same, which I think really helps as far as design is concerned, although some would argue. Um, and look what she did. She apparently, we can guess, the quilt wasn't big enough. So what did she do? She took a tenth block and cut it up and made an extra border out of it. Why? I don't know why. And I mean, I will say that this is not a quilt that I put on the wall. I take it out and look at it and enjoy it. I show it if I'm doing a trunk show. People respond one way or another. Um, so this is my idea of weird and wonderful. Some details there. It's hand quilted. It's a little bit thick. It's not precise. Um, when I was a little girl, I'm the youngest of three, and my parents would buy us records, and they were thick. I think they were 78s, and they were kind of thick. And they were children's records, like Tubby the Tuba or Peter and the Wolf or something like that. And one of them was a song and story, a story told in song by Ray Bolger. And most people think of Ray Bolger as the scarecrow in Wizard of Oz, but he was a song and dance man. And I think he actually wrote this little story that was full of song. And it was called Chirkendoos. And the story was that this bird was born in the hen house and nobody knew what it was. It was just part chicken, turkey, duck, and goose, Chirkendoos, Chirkendoos. And so you can bet that when I saw this quilt, that came right to my mind, and that's my nickname for this one. That's my Chirkendoos. There's lots of fan quilts around, and this really, if you break it down, is fans. It's a set of two fans. Okay, let me use my cursor. Um, sorry. Um, it's two, that's a fan, and it's a set of two fans around an arc, and the arc colors repeated in this case and varied down here. And then the whole thing is made crazy quilt around the outside. Lots of embroidery, as you can see, around every seam. And what can I say? It's a fan quilt, but have you ever seen one like that? I bet you won't see one like that again. I love that quilt. Um, this one has, I have an attachment to it because it was made by Lucy Mingo, who is one of the original Gee's Bend quilters from Gee's Bend, Alabama. And without taking too much of your time to tell you how I got there, I got to spend a week in Gee's Bend with my very good friend Joe Cunningham, who was quilting with the quilters, and I'm not a quilter. So I did put a stitch in. They had two quilts going with groups of women quilting in their community house. And after a while, somebody said, "Come on, put a stitch in, put a stitch in." So I put one stitch in each quilt, and now sometimes I call myself a Gee's Bend quilter. Um, in any case, Lucy was wonderful, and she had made this quilt. Um, It's called Pine Bur or Target, and it's a quilt that it was generally made by African Americans in Alabama. And Lucy had made this one and several others, actually. I didn't buy it from her directly, even though Joe and I hung out with her for quite some time. We weren't buying quilts, we were just visiting with them. Joe was quilting with them. Um, but this came up online sometime later, and I sent her a picture and asked her had she made it because it had gotten out of her hands and out of the hands of whoever it went to next. And it was for sale on eBay or somewhere. And I looked at it and I thought, that's Lucy's. It's a kind of quilt that's made there. They weigh 4,000 pounds. Um, and I love it because it gives me good memories of spending that time with Lucy in, I think it was 2012 down in Gee's Bend. That was a great week in my life. Alphabet quilts kind of always appeal to me. Quilts with words on them or numbers or letters seem to appeal to me a lot. I do a talk called Mark My Words, Text and Textiles or something like that. And this is a classic alphabet quilt based on a design that came out of the Ladies' Art Company. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. In the late 19th century, something like 1889, they came out with patterns for block letters of the entire alphabet. And this is it. And so unusual to me because some have serifs and some don't. It was not, this is actually the patterns that they published. Um, and because there's 26 letters in the alphabet and there's going to, the spaces line up in such a way that the four blocks here, I shouldn't be pointing at the screen, up, 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 up. That was going to be the punchline. Um, the four corner blocks needed something, and women did all kinds of things to fill those corner blocks, different things. But this is the way the pattern was suggested by the company that published the patterns. Um, I've seen and collected a bunch of alphabet quilts, and this one I just had to have. I mean, talk about memorable. What in the world? What in the world? And this is the front of the quilt. I don't have it backwards. I don't have the photo backwards. Um, the designs look like they're kind of like the ones that were published, but not exactly. I just for one, I remember that back here, the Q, here's a Q with the little notch going out, and I think I remember just now looking at it. There, it goes in. So there's some variations, but the whole thing is just like I this is when I do my PSA, when I say to you quilt makers, please label your quilts. If it's just your name, the date you made it, and where, and put that on the back of a quilt, your descendants and quilt historians like me 50 years from now will thank you, thank you, thank you.
It almost looks like the maker was dyslexic.
Well, very interesting that you say that, and I bet you know about it. Sounds like you know about it. I have quilts that have the letters backwards. This person has got the whole thing weird. Although we don't know. Maybe these are the initials of her grandchildren. I mean, we don't know, which is why I beg you to put labels on your quilts. And as a minimum, your name, the date, and where you made it, and anything else you want to say. So, wouldn't it be wonderful, for example, to turn this quilt over and see a little muslin, not paper, but muslin tag on which was written, I made this quilt, I'm dyslexic. And I made this quilt, and these are my initials of my students at school in Ohio in 1912 or whatever. Um, anyway, you get the picture. I like really weird things and I like really weird people, so thanks for joining me. Another alphabet quilt that's done her own, she went her own way. She did the alphabet, but she did it her own way. And you can see that these letters are uppercase and they're very much like typeface. They're not from the pattern that the Ladies Art Company did. And Julia Felton, um, perhaps most likely this is the maker of the quilt, but don't presume that. my friend and colleague Xenia Cord, whom some of you may know, has pointed out that a name can be on a quilt for various reasons. It can be on the quilt because the maker is signing it, but it also could be, this could have been very easily a gift to Julia Felton, the teacher who taught him the alphabet. It isn't like little kids made it or anything, but you don't know if it's the maker, the recipient of a gift, or even if it's on the back, sometimes even the later owner. So rather than calling these inscribed quilts, I call them, as per Xenia's suggestion, inscribed quilts. And then, unless you absolutely know, if you got this from a family and somebody said, yeah, that was my great great grandmother, I saw her do it, that's different. But without other documentation, don't assume that a name on a quilt is the signature. So these same letters were used in 1918 on November 11th. And I'm going to get back to dyslexia in a second here with this quilt. Glad Day, November 11th, 1918. And if somebody wants to unmute and guess what that date is or inform us what that date is, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll tell you. It was the day that the World War I ended. And you remember World War I. That was the war that was the war to end all wars. And unfortunately, not so. But this quilt maker was so happy on that day that she let us know, inside strips of cotton crazy quilt. Um, I bought this quilt many, many years ago. It's crisp. It's never been washed. It appears to never be used. How I wish I knew who this was, why she did it, why was it put away. I didn't even have the experience of getting it from a family that said, oh, we have kept this for 4 generations because Grandma Ellison lost her fiance or some story. But it was an incredibly glad day, of course. And um, now, talking about dyslexia, I'm glad it came up because I want to just go back to it. Um, the great historian and a friend of mine, Barbara Brackman, has a theory about this, and it's yours, whoever it was that talked about dyslexia. She was a special ed teacher, among other things in her life, and had lots of dyslexic students. And she said there absolutely were people with dyslexia, a form of dyslexia where they couldn't even see that it was backwards. If you pointed out to them that it was backwards, they didn't see it. And I've had quilts that had an S and a different quilt that had an N more than once on the quilt, once the right way and the other time the wrong way. And Barbara's explanation helps me understand why that might be so. That the dyslexic person, it's not like they just don't see the difference. They just don't see it. And I found that really interesting, and I love that quilt.
Somebody said that the U on Julia was reversed on the prior quilt.
That's correct, and that's the first time I've ever seen that. I saw it just as you saw it, and
Yeah.
I've looked at this quilt 100 times, right? But that doesn't that look? Those letters are cut from like a rubber, you know what I mean, a rubber stamp or a printing shop. That's that's a font. I don't know if it's Times Roman or what, but it's a font. Um, okay. Here's a quilt I really loved also. You can't see what's going on, but you can see that every block is different and that it's a pink and green that those of you who know anything about the history of quilts or are looking at old quilts, that it dates it to about 1930 just from the colors. And what it is a quilt from the town of Pritchard, Alabama. Here you can see this. And every block is advertising one of the stores in Pritchard, Alabama. I've looked up Pritchard, Alabama. I've actually tried really hard to find, I can't even find these shops in Pritchard, Alabama from the 1930s or 40s, from which this would date. Um, I won't stop till I do because I mean, let's go back here. Look at this. It's 20 different shops or services, and Pritchard, Alabama. So Sansom Brothers Barbershop, trade at mile stores where you are assured of the very best goods at the lowest prices. And there you go. There's some more. Um, I just, you know, well, I think you get the picture. I'm asked frequently, what's my favorite? Do I have a favorite quilt? And I don't really have a favorite quilt, but this is a quilt that would be the first, or certainly among the first, that I would grab if fire was on its way. Um, it's a very odd piece. I love it. So in block letters that are appliqued around the top and bottom of the quilt, it says, made by Margaret Culp Blosser for my namesake, Margaret, and then up here, Welty, commenced, spelled incorrectly, January the 4th, 1903, finished April the 5th, 1904. One presumes that that year that it took, January, the year and 3 months or 4 months that it took to make was before it was quilted, because she would have finished the top before it was quilted, probably. Um, in any case, let me show you some details here because, uh, okay, so I'm going to go back for just a second here. Let's look at this block. This block, which is upside down, is half of the alphabet, and this block is the other half of the alphabet. And there are, this block talks about John Adams. She was teaching her namesake about John Adams and John Quincy Adams. So there, it's kind of, and then there are some funny shapes and some animals and some folky things, and but mainly what the quilt is a diary of the weather. Made on Wednesday, fair. Made on Thursday, warm. Made on Friday, sunshine. Made by your grandma. And the history lesson. There's a history lesson, the dates of his presidency. And my favorite block, well, not quite yet. There's more weather. This is a very stormy day. And you might imagine that when I refer to this quilt, I refer to it as the Stormy Day quilt. I love, love, love that quilt. Kind of funky, not in great shape. And that was another thing I wanted to say, which is in my inventory, which I really see separately from my own collection, my inventory, the things I sell, I want them to be in excellent condition. But quilts like the Stormy Day quilt and the chicken or the rooster quilt, they do not have to be in perfect condition. They can't be falling apart, they can't have bugs, all that kind of stuff, but I'm not really so concerned in my own collection about condition, perfection in condition, and perfection all round is not really my favorite way to go. This is a detail of a quilt that I love very much, and this woman, bless her heart, gave us lots of information. When I first got this quilt, I took a picture of it and I sent it to my friend Joe Cunningham, and we share lots of quilt stuff all the time. And he said, how did you Photoshop that on there? That's not Photoshopped. That's embroidered by Mary Lowcock. Mary Lowcock either had the biggest ego in the world or perhaps the smallest ego in the world, but had needed some attention. But I love her because, aside from it being just a fabulous quilt, let me show you here. She says, home sweet home. And look what else she says. September the 10th or 16th, 10th, I think, 1892. She told us when she finished it, likely, and she told us where she was, Powersville, Missouri. What a wonderful person. What a gift to historians. Um, I just love this quilt. I love her ingenuity, her skill. Um, just just great. And it also makes me laugh because look at those chickens and roosters. It makes me laugh because somewhere up here, and I can, here it is right here. So I've looked her up. I've done genealogy on her. She gave us so much information. Of course, I knew when she lived and where she lived. Um, and I think it's hilarious that she was so forward and bold about her own signature. It turns out she had a sister. She made this before she married. So that was her maiden name. And she had a sister named Sarah, Sarah C. Lowcock. Look at this. This is where she puts her sister, almost hidden. One wants to read into this psychologically, but one won't because um, this is a quilt I found fascinating. I sold it many years ago. I owned it for a long time, but then I sold it to the IQM, the International Quilt Museum in Lincoln. Um, the design that is referred to as a swastika has appears in almost every culture as far back as we have seen design from cultures. It always was a sign of good fortune, good health, longevity, um, good luck, until Hitler got a hold of it and corrupted it. This quilt, which is dated 1932, this is the year before Hitler arrived on the scene. And that swastika is we can guess that she was putting it on for very good reasons rather than nefarious and horrible reasons. This quilt made me laugh as well because here's what she did. So we'll go back and look at the whole thing. And where did she sign it? I've now forgotten where she signed it. I think it's up here somewhere, but in any case, here it is. And I should just say, if it says by somebody, you can presume that she actually made the quilt. That's a giveaway. But okay, so by Mary A. German, 1932. Kind of ironic that her name was German. She lived in Missouri. And then there's this. And as an historian, I try to pass on information that I know and differentiate it from what I think. Like on the rooster quilt, I don't know that she was allying herself with the Democratic Party. And I hope I made that clear that that's not a fact, that's a thought of mine. And this is another thought of mine. I'd love to hear yours. I think Mary A. German made this quilt and was proud of it. And Mr. German said, where am I? Where am I in this? uh, I may be projecting, but what can I say?
I think that she made it and then got married and added the misses afterwards. How's that one?
Well, if she made it before she was married, she wouldn't be Mrs. German, though, right? In other words, is that
Yeah,
her?
you're right. You're right.
But I understand your idea. And mine is just silly, but it could be true. This is a quilt designed and made by a man named Ernest B. Haight. Some of you may have heard his name. And here he has signed it himself or somebody's embroidered his signature. Ernest B. Haight was a engineer who lived in Nebraska. I believe he lived in Nebraska City, Nebraska. And he was an engineer and he watched his wife making quilts and thought, um, I can improve I can make new patterns. I can improve how to make patterns. I can improve how to make templates. And I can show them how to machine quilt. And this was in the 1920s and 30s. This is a quilt that he made and designed. He may not have made it. He designed it because there's more than one in this design, which he called. Um, my screen is such that I can't read what he wrote. Falling blocks, You may be able to see it better than I. Maybe somebody, I've got the screen sharing thing is right in front of it. I can't really read it. If somebody can read what he wrote at the bottom and will unmute and tell us what it says, that'd be great. Well, I think it says Falling Blocks, nine, made by Ernest B. Hay, 1961 or something. And then along the side it says it was made, presented to the Reverend and Mrs. somebody or other. He was a very interesting guy. He created a couple of pamphlets that he actually published and sold about how to machine quilt and how to get better templates and something that else I don't understand. Let's see. Crazy quilts. Crazy quilts, Victorian crazy quilts made between about 1875. You know what? I'm not watching time. So if somebody wants to tell me when I'm getting close, that'd be great. Um, this is a Victorian crazy quilt made at sometime between 1876 and 1910 or something. This one, judging by the fabrics and some of the styles, suggests it's 19th century, probably 1885 or 1890. Crazy quilts don't generally appeal to me. Um, I've done an armchair analysis on myself, and I've decided that unless they're organized in some way, they're too frenetic for me. That I'm kind of an anxious person, and they make me more anxious. Like frenetic music makes me more anxious, and maybe that's why. But when they have something that organizes them, I'm much more comfortable and I like the quilts better. This is a quilt from, I hope I have the detail here. Yeah. Um, made by the late here, reading from here, made by the ladies of the Christian Church, Centralia, Illinois, 1892. And then in the center, and I'll go back here, it appears that this was a fundraising quilt, and that depending on where your name appeared, you the people who gave the most money got the center stage. So what's happening with these big pieces here, and this is a history lesson for us, these are four major newspapers that were published in Centralia, Illinois, which most people have never heard of. Four independent newspapers from each other, independent from each other in 1892. And now where are we? Um, I think it's a real sign of the times and a real sign of what's happened to us socially and politically and culturally that our news sources are now so um, homogenized and focused, localized. And in any case, I like the quilt and I owned it for a long time. I don't own it anymore. But that's the kind of crazy quilt that appeals to me. Now, this one is not organized in any way, and it's actually just a fragment. But um, so what does it measure? Maybe it measures, I don't know, 36 by 80 or something like that. And you can see just how beautiful her embroidery was. And I'm going to show you the block. Oh, no. Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to have to point it out to you now. Here, I meant to include this detail. Let me just see if can I? Oh, I can. What do you think about that? Okay, let me see if I can make it even bigger. What fun. Okay, it's upside down, but it says in embroidery, worked by Aunt Sarah W. Ford, 1884, aged 70 years. And she did the most incredible. I'm going to see if I can just make it even bigger for you. Just embroidered everywhere. And there's something about how dense and balanced it is that doesn't make me nervous. And I so much have to admire and respect this. How can I get it smaller? Yes, I can. This kind of work. So memorable, yes. A very different kind of crazy quilt. Cotton, 1930 to 40. Um, and just, imperfect in so many ways and perfect in so many ways, at least to my eye. That really appeals to me. How I wish I know who made it, why, and where, and what for. And this is a crazy quilt that is crazy quilt style, late Victorian crazy quilt style, in that the pieces overlap one another and are embroidered around every single one. But somehow this woman, this is a rather small quilt, not tiny, not a crib quilt, but maybe, 50 by 60 inches or something like that. And what are these hashtags and what did they mean then? And then these crazy sawtooths that go around the outside. This one is not in great shape either, but it's mine and I love it. This is a wool crazy quilt, primarily wool crazy quilt. I owned it for a short time. It also had been in the Esprit collection when I was curator there. Esprit collection is generally known for Amish quilts, but after the couple that owned the company divorced, um, the collection changed to something quite different than Amish quilts. And this was one of the quilts that was in the Esprit collection. I was at when the last boss sold out of the company, she gave me this quilt as a gift. Um, and I am much more drawn to these quilts that the 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 highly embellished quilts don't appeal to me nearly as much as these, either cotton or wool quilts that are not where the pieces are not embellished. The only embellishment here are these thousands and thousands of white. It's actually where she caught it. It's not the knot. The knot's on the back, but it's like she made a blizzard. I used to call this quilt the blizzard over a black moon. And I love these in cotton and wool that are not highly embroidered because I can see the guts. I can see what she was trying to do. I feel a little bit sidetracked somehow when I look at the ones that have so much surface embellishment. I can't grasp what's going on, but here I really can. I love this quilt. This is a kind of crazy quilt. And again, I'm sorry, you guys, I don't have time here. So if you need me to get close to the end, just please alert me so I can do that. This is a kind of crazy quilt that they're pretty rare. They're crazy quilt in the sense that the shapes are random. They're not repeated. There are a few shapes, recognizable shapes, but mostly these pieces are random shape pieces, and that to me is what describes a crazy quilt. But in this case, they don't overlap. And not only do they not overlap, but they were cut. This is called a tile quilt. And they were cut to fit together with one another with the same amount of white background space showing. So it looks like grout around tiles. And they were either called tile quilts or stone wall quilts. And we do, in fact, find them mainly in Connecticut, where there are a lot of stone walls. Um, they, they're, they're found in New England. I think people have identified about 50 of these. Um, this is mine and one that I really treasure. It's one of the most balanced of the tile quilts that I've seen. It's a kind of crazy quilt, but a subgenre. And this is kind of like a tile quilt, except you can see that rather than fitting together, the maker cut the pieces and appliqued them down freely. So I don't know a technical name for this kind of quilt. I call it free form or free floating applique because they're not cut to fit one another. They just float in the space. Um, Again, we see CWB at the top in 1893. We don't know if that's the name of the maker or perhaps the recipient of the gift. There are also, there's the name Ray right here, USA right here, initials right here. So again, if only we knew, if only we could seance back to the makers. This is one I bought most recently that is somewhere between kind of a tile quilt and um, and a free floating. They kind of fit together, but it's really more free floating. This was made during the Roosevelt era, and this is probably, we assume, celebrating the NRA. Um, in each corner, there are four applique kittens. And so, kitty, I call this one my kitty corner quilt, or my NRA quilt, a cotton crazy quilt made in blocks, as you can see.
Julie, it's 8 o'clock.
Okay, I'll finish up. Let me just see here. Okay. Um, I think you're getting the idea of what I like, a kind of freedom in quilts that we see in the 19th century a lot. People could do whatever they wanted, really. This happens to be a 20th century quilt, but um, be free. Do what you want. Don't listen to those, quilt, please. And I'll just quickly go through here, a couple more that I love very much, and just finish up with me in front of my shop and thanking you all very much. Oh, there were more, but but time is here. And if there are any questions or time for questions, let me
Yeah, we have a,
Thank you so much for sharing. It's a beautiful collection.
One
yeah,
of the comments is that I love how these quilts have informed how we create improvisational quilts today without us realizing it. And I think that's very true.
yeah. I used to think that these improvisational quilts from the 19th century and into the early 20th century, I used to call them maverick quilts because I thought they were odd. But now what I believe is since the G's Bend quilts finally got on museum walls and were considered as art, and improvisational has become so admired where it used to not be. I've been in the business for a long time. I had quilts like that in 1972, and quilt makers would come in and say, "Why in the world would you have that?" When I thought it was a great piece of design. But the world has come around to how it doesn't have to be fine needlework to be great design. And these improvisational quilts, the G Spend exhibits really were a watershed moment that a museum would actually do that. And the Arnett's went to many, many, many museums before Houston agreed to show their quilts. Other museums said, what is this? We don't know. Anyway, that's part of quilt history, and that's what I'm interested in.
somebody wants to know about the quilt behind you.
I showed it in
Right.
the light's not very good,
Okay, it
but
is one that you saw, yes.
and you're seeing it backwards from the way, or maybe you're seeing, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's behind me.
Okay. Everybody says this was wonderful and they really enjoyed
Thank you
this.
all so much.
Yes. Somebody did say that the scrappy quilts were true scrappy. I love how these quilts have informed how we create fragile quilts today without us realizing it. And then somebody said her mother-in-law probably told her to add the Mrs.
I was thinking about that, Mrs., and thinking how women in that era always were Mrs. and then their husband's name. And I think she was going, no, I'm my own person. Yes, I'm a Mrs., little. That's what I think.
First I'm me, then I'm his wife.
Exactly.
Great. I love that. And I love the mother-in-law. I'm going to use it. I'll give you the royalties from it.
Oh, great, awesome. And I'm sorry about the background noise. Ian is home, so.
Okay. Oh, I know. Julie, I had a question for you, and that is, do you make a distinction between a medallion quilt or a framed quilt? Because sometimes I think I've read where people have made a distinction, and then other time, no, it's a medallion.
This is just me. I've never had this question before. I've never thought about it before. But what's occurring to me is that there is such a thing, especially among the Amish and Mennonites, as a frame quilt. So it's a rectangular quilt with a wide outer border and a thin inner border with nothing in the middle. That's a frame.
Okay.
When there's something in the middle, and to me, a medallion quilt has the important thing right in the center, and there are multiple borders. So
Okay.
it is kind of framed, But that's how if somebody said I have a frame quilt for you, because I have so much experience with the Amish, I would think it would be like a center square,
Okay.
just like a frame with nothing in it.
Right. Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
me though, not official.
No, no, but I mean, it seems like sometimes they're used interchangeably, but then other times it seems like an author or researcher has made a real distinction.
Right. And I'm sure some do and whatever.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, we
Any,
appreciate your spending time with us this evening, and it's so inspiring to see these quilts and makes us know we're in such a special sorority of
yep.
Absolutely.
quitters.
Absolutely. I said to somebody the other day, how many nice people are there in quilt? I'm going to really quick tell you a story. I sold a quilt about 2 weeks ago, and it was one of the box openings. I took a quilt out, and it sold kind of right away, really within like 3 hours or something. And I got a letter. Actually, you're on, Megan, aren't you? Megan, are you on? Or Margot? No.
Oh, Margot Kruger.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Prager. Her daughter wrote to me and said, maybe I shouldn't tell the story. I will though. Daughter wrote to me and said, I saw that you opened that quilt. I went to get it, but it was gone. Would you consider going to the buyer and saying that somebody would like to buy it for more at a profit? And would she consider, I loved it so much. So the person who bought it was a collector, not a dealer. And I thought, I don't think she'll do this, but I passed on her letter and said, I told her you weren't in the business, but she's asking. The original buyer gave it to Megan, sent it to her for free, said, I have so many beautiful quilts. It sounds like you really love this. And Megan had said that her mother was Margot Krager to me, and that went to the original buyer. That because I know Margot from years ago, and Margot says hello and blah blah. And the original buyer who's giving it to Megan said, it sounds like it's intergenerational. It's a group of women who love quilts, all of us together. I'm giving it to you. It's a gift.
Oh,
Please accept it. I mean, how cool is that?
how wonderful.
You think,
Yes.
you think gun collectors do that with each other?
No, I don't.
Probably not.
Oh,
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Yeah.
And I'm going to see you again, yeah? In two
Yeah,
yes,
weeks.
on Saturday
on
with a
Saturday. Yep. Another
whole
group
new
of people.
collection. Yes.
Yep.
Look
And we
forward
get
to it.
to look at them. That's awesome.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Thank you so
excited.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to
Okay.
do you want me to
Yeah.
share?
Yeah, you share and I'm trying to turn my camera on. I might mute if Ian comes down here, so just bear with me if I have to mute. Okay, we could go down to slide. I did the welcome. We did that. Next slide. And there's our picture for Julie's. That was a wonderful presentation. And then Saturday after the presentation from 1 to 4, there's a special workshop with Dawn Cook, and she'll be bringing in some stuff, and people will get to participate with that. So I believe that's full. I'm not really sure, Jean.
We have two
Not yet.
spots open yet.
Okay. And maybe on Saturday somebody will say, hey, I'd like to stay. So we'll see. Okay. Next slide. Okay, Friday, March 27th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to be having the One Block Wonders using a panel with Maxine Rosenthal and Nancy Miller. And I believe there's a showing of One Block Wonders at the show, at the Quilter Show in June. So I believe it closes on Wednesday, March 18th. So that's coming up soon in about 2.5 weeks. So if you want to take that class, sign up for it. Okay, In April, our next presentation will be the 5x5s. We're asking you could bring up to 5 quilts you'd like to share with our members. This is in addition to the show and tell at the end of our presentations. We invite you to bring your quilts and share their stories for each quilt. Please be prepared to talk about why you made it, who it was made for, and any other details you'd like to share. If you're interested in participating, please email me at ed@mnquilt.org. Think of it as a show and tell with a little more storytelling. As Jane Wakely reminded us last month, it's important to document who, what, where, why, and how behind each quilt so future family members can understand their meaning and history. I do have 2 people that are willing to share, but I could use some more people. And if you're willing to do a show and tell and explain it more, go for it. Next slide. Upcoming retreats. March 1920, hosts are Jean Lamore and Jane Kessler. There's 4 spots open. April 16th through the 19th, hosts Liz Drydahl and Carolyn Davis. And you go to the 26-day retreats tile on our homepage to register to sign up to be a host. Check up on Sign Up Genius on any other upcoming days. National Quilt Day is March 21st, Saturday. Join us on Zoom anytime between 8 a.m. and midnight. Quilt, visit, share, repeat. Watch for the Zoom link in the Thursday Thimble. Right that Thursday before Saturday, March 21st. And there's no need to register. You just come in and join. So you can talk.
It's in today's thimble fall.
Oh, okay. So you can get the theme, and we'll keep reminding you often, up until that date that there's this Zoom meeting. So, but come and do your thing. Getaways for 2026, spring getaway, Camp Wampo, Ami. I never can pronounce that name.
Amory,
Wisconsin. Sorry,
there you go.
March 23rd through March 26th. Hosts are Leah Doherty. Registration closes Friday, March 13th, and that's a week from tomorrow. Fall Getaway at 26th is Riverside Inn, Cold Springs, Minnesota, November 20th through the 24th, and the host is Cynthia Davis. Okay, our annual garage sale is coming up May 9th. It's that time of the year. Our annual garage sale is coming up, and we need you and the things you no longer love. Drop off will be May 7th and the 8th at MQ. First, donate your unwanted quilting related items. No fleece or upholstery, please. Sewing kits and yarn, okay, but please limit the yarn. Machines must be in working order. If it's been living in the garage, closet, or basement, just in case. For the last 5 years, this is a moment to shine. Someone else out there right now who needs that item you forgot you owned. Second, we need volunteers to sign up on Sign Up Genius. This magical event doesn't run itself. We need help sorting, pricing, setting up, selling, packing. Bonus volunteers get your first class access to all the treasures. Clean out your space, help a good cause, and enjoy a few days with great people. The mystery.
Sorry, Sue.
That's okay.
I jumped.
That's okay. Mystery quilt. We just received clue number 3. Is it still open for registration? I'm guessing it
Yes,
is, and
it is.
you're able to get the other dates that you might need, the other
Yep.
clues. Excuse me. I haven't even started mine. Too busy. Would you want to talk about this one, Jean?
Yeah, I didn't get this updated, but my report is we now have 387 folks registered on Glue Up. So lots of your friends are out there and on there. And today we got the event websites working. So Carolyn, you're the lucky person. The fabric dating event on Saturday. Now we can talk to each other.
Okay,
And
great.
if you want to post your documents out there, you would be able to do that. I know you've got Dropbox, but 2 options. The questions we got this week were about the membership directory. Sorry, this information is old, but when you log into GlueUp, there's a little triangle on the left. That is the member directory. And whether people have registered on GlueUp or not, We have 866 members in the member directory and around 50 business members. So their information is out there if you need it.
It's a very
Um,
useful tool, I have to tell you.
oh, good, good, good. From Pat Anderson, who's been working on Thimbleful in the newsletter. Pat says just use the email link to renew. Don't go to the renew button on the MQ website. You'll have to enter all your information. So you should have an email. If you don't, let me know. We can resend it. But the link in the email will pre-fill everything and you'll be able to renew. I'm gonna bug Brenda. Brenda, was there anything else?
Yes, Jean, I went to the App Store and it's there they say My Glue from Glue Up, or is it Glue Up Manager?
It's my clue. The manager is
It's My Glue.
for,
Okay. That's what
yep,
I thought. All
the
right, thank you.
manager is for admins.
Right. Okay.
Um, I think I remember, Brenda, what we heard about earlier this week was sometimes you get caught in a circle with the password where it says, I don't know you. There is a link on the MQ website. If you just go to that, chances are your password was recorded and people have been able to click there and get right in. So that is what we know this week.
And I was able to use the same password for my personal glue up and on my app. So,
Oh, good. All right. Any questions for me on Glue Up?
we appreciate everything you've done to get this going, Jean.
You are welcome. I don't know if everyone appreciates it every day, but
Well, I'm sure
we're
it's,
at the 1 month mark, so we're doing
yep.
well.
I get the email saying something's there, and then I go to glue up and read it. So awesome.
All
Uh,
right.
if
I'm
you're
gonna, I'm
interested,
gonna jump in here, Sue.
yep, go right ahead.
I just want to say that it's not election time, but it is time to think about being on the Minnesota Quilters board, and we're looking for 4 or 5 people to join the board. The first year you're on the board, you just sort of get to you don't have you just have a board member at large position, and you get a chance to see how we operate, what we do. Definitely voice your opinions and help us make decisions. What's going to happen in NMQ. So we're hoping that we can get a few people that want to volunteer and help out and join the board.
It's really fun
Yeah, we're a fun group of
to the
people.
board.
Yeah, a fun time. Show committee meeting will be, the next meeting will be March 25th at 6:30, and the email was sent out in a Zoom link, and it's also on in your Google Drive. And I had to look for it, but it's Show Meetings 2026, and you'll be able to find it.
And so I do have more slides from Alex. Oh,
Yep, yep.
I can talk about this one.
Oh,
all
go right
right.
ahead. Take it away.
So this is Brenda. I usually don't get to join you on Thursday nights, so I'm glad that I could hear that talk. That was great. I'm in charge of special exhibits along with Sharon Resnick this year, and they're usually special exhibits are things that we go out to a guild and or a national tour and want to bring it in. But there are two this year that we would like to invite you to be part of. One is if you've done a Cherrywood Challenge and it has not been on tour, we would love to show that, give you a chance to show that up. So you see on the left side of your screen, 4 of my Cherrywood Challenge quilts that did not get chosen to go on the tour because she can only take about half of the quilts that get exhibited. So um, that's one option for you. The other option is to make a memorial block in memory of somebody from Minnesota Quilters who has passed away. And you make a block, and we're going to display the blocks this year and then hopefully have enough blocks that we can put together a quilt to make a raffle quilt. So if any of those appeal to you, send an email to Special Exhibits and we will get you some more information.
And
Thank
Brenda,
you.
those are any cherry wood challenge you've done, right? Not just
Any cherry wood challenge, yeah. The other
Exciting
thing I was
opportunity.
maybe Alex put this in. I'll wait till later, but go ahead, G. Sorry.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Carolyn?
Yeah, I could talk about this. So, this is the year of America 250, and we and the Minnesota Quilt Project are marking the year by featuring state bird and state flower quilts at our booth at the show. So if you have one of these quilts and you would consider exhibiting it at the show, please send us an email and let us know about it.
Exciting. I like it. And these are from a collection from Kelly Willis.
So
So,
this is a quilt from Kelly's collection. Yes, it's just an example of a quilt like this. There were many different patterns. Happens to be one of the patterns. Yes.
I think that
awesome.
email might be wrong on that slide. I'm guessing it's mqp@mnquilt.org.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
right.
Okay.
That's right. It
I'll put that
is
in the chat.
mqp@mnquilt.org. Right.
Yeah, and I didn't catch that myself. Sorry.
And obviously I didn't catch it. Sorry.
mpquilt.org. Okay, I think 1G. Okay. I don't know if it'll collect it on there, but I just corrected on the slide that I have. So, okay. Okay. Next slide, please.
Wait, there is a question. Jessica, did you want to ask?
Uh, you are looking for state flower or state bird quilts. Yes. Is that correct? Yes. Yes. We would like, because of the America 250, we would like the state bird or state flower quilts.
She says, sounds good.
Okay.
Right. Anything
Well,
else?
I can see that there could be confusion because there were many quilts made at that time that
Mm-hmm.
featured just embroidered birds or just embroidered flowers without the state. But we really would prefer to have the state on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, next slide.
Ready? All right.
Um, well, somebody else
And
had
maybe
an.
I could say something about this one as well. So many of you are familiar with the MQP booth that we have every year at the show. And we always have a focus. And of course, this year we want to focus on the state bird and flower quilts. But we also have uh, a sale of vintage quilts and tops and blocks, fabrics, and these need to be vintage things. And if you have anything that you would like to contribute, please send us an email and we could pick it up or arrange for you to donate it in some way. All of the funds we raise go to outreach and education for Minnesota quilters. So please look in your closets and see if there are things that would fall into this category. We would really love to feature it in our booth.
Awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. Next slide.
Ready?
Yep, I'm ready. Judged. Is there somebody here for judge quilting? No? Okay. All I can do is read the slide. The judge exhibit is going to be a great showcase of creative and technical skills. Lots of information in the quilt entry and the judge entry details under the quilt show on the Minnesota Quilters webpage. Judge Quilts exhibit details flyer, categories, definitions, rules, and miscellaneous, all you need to know. The entry worksheet is there, a great document to help you prepare for your quilt registration process for your judge entry or 2 or 3.
And
We,
Brenda stuck the quilt show URL in the chat.
I want to add one more announcement about the show just because I have been the show director and I know how much work Alex is doing. We have a couple of show committee positions still open. So please consider that if you would like to join in. We're looking for people for admissions. Now I'm not going to be able to rattle them off. Printing and signage, those are the ones that come to mind. But if you go to the Minnesota Quilt Show or Minnesota Quilters website, mnquilt.org, and then go to how to get involved and then volunteer, eventually you'll get to the Sign Up Genius, and it has a list of all the show committee positions that are open. We love to have you join us. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to get to know people.
And
Hi, this is Liz
Sue,
McHenry. I just wanted to quickly interject something because I see the slide never made it in.
yes, I'm bringing him up now,
Oh,
Liz.
you are? Okay, to meet the teachers. Okay.
Yes. Hold on. It'll be a second.
Okay.
Yeah, Alex just emailed him to me at the last minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's been
got,
super busy.
yeah. I
Very
mean, she
busy.
mentioned it at our meeting yesterday that she had these slides, so.
Yeah. So we are
All right.
doing our meet the teachers meetings next week, all week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can see the schedule here. There is, when you sign up for the Zoom, the same Zoom link works for all 4 meetings. So you only have to register once. And I believe that link was sent out in the Thursday Thimble today. So please
Yes.
join us. If you can't join us, we will be publishing them to YouTube too, so you'll get a chance to look at them later. Oh, and this is the other good thing that's happened. We now have 4 rooms with confirmed machines. So, of course, the long arms will be with Kelly McKenzie and Miriam Coffey. We'll also have Janome with Teresa Coates, Elna with Dion Stott, and Bernina with Cindy Seitzgrove.
And we need help with people to sign up. And I don't know if Alex is going to put it on Sign Up Genius, but you could get a hold of the show director and ask when she's going to set this work group up. We have to make these flowers out of neckties. She has bags of ties, they're silk ties, and then they'll be on the tables at the banquet. And I believe we're giving them away at the end. So if anybody
More,
wants to, get a hold of the show director.
more to come.
Mm-hmm.
And this, Brenda, I think is what you were mentioning. What we have printing and bus tours, but what were the other ones that you mentioned, Brenda?
Signage is the other big one.
Oh,
And
signage. I thought.
Missions. Yeah.
Signage and sorry, I didn't hear
Admissions.
admissions.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Yeah.
But those will all be up on Sinus Genius too, right?
Yeah, they're on Sign Up Genius already. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So people can go there and sign up to help.
For everything. All right. I don't think we have a merchandise person.
Right. That's Anne. There's going to be a shop set up, and is it up and running now, Jean, or
Not till next week.
next week? And you'll be able to order items there, and up to a certain date it'll be shipped to to the show and you'll pick it up at the merchandise table. And if it's after that date, then you can have it shipped to your house for additional cost. They're gonna have the zip ups, they're gonna have t-shirts, hoodies, and the new design is gonna be available. And they're also gonna be selling campfire mugs.
And fabric,
And
which
fabric, yes.
is supposed to be already out there on the MQ website under shop.
And I believe it'll be available on Saturday, I believe.
Good. All right.
There's the fabric.
This is it. Yeah.
So you
All
get to
right.
make something. It'll be this fabric that's down in the right by the sewing machine.
Yep.
And I guess she said it's really good. It's a good quality.
Very
material.
nice. Yeah, really nice weight.
Okay. Quilt shop mailings will be distributed at Saturday's meeting, and I don't know much about it. So
I can
besides
talk
the big
about
packet.
this. I think a lot of our members know about this. If you have been around MQ for a while, we make a marketing packet for each quilt shop in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, North Dakota. Well, yeah, North Dakota and South Dakota. So we have 400 packets. We are hoping that most of them will be picked up by members, and you get to go on a little shop hop. So you drop them off at the quilt shop. We would love to have you. You know, you're an ambassador for MQ, so be on your most smiley and chit-chatty mode that day. And then if you're a Facebook user, take a picture of the quilt shop owner holding up their poster and put that on Facebook and give them a little love. And yeah, so those will be ready on Saturday. We'll also have some packets for other guilds. So if you're part of other guilds, which most of us are part of 2 or 3, right? You can pick up a packet and bring it to your next guild meeting.
Awesome opportunity.
And I would say when I've done this, shop owners love to get a photo with whatever new fabric they got. So that's another way you could go. Tomorrow we still have work on the packets to do. So if you're free between 9 and noon, stop by MQ and stuff packages.
No.
Somebody wants to know if they could sign up to get a packet on Sign Up Genius, or do they just show up at Saturday's meeting and get it?
Just show up on Saturday.
Right.
Or we'll still have them out like during QFO on Wednesdays. If there's packets left during the March retreat, we'll have them out. And then the last week of March, whatever's not been picked up, we'll actually put postage on it and mail it out. But you just come and we'll help you find a packet.
Awesome. Okay, next slide.
That might be it.
Awesome. We can go back to.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
You're in Kopitz. People forget me. Okay.
We would never.
Never, ever.
Forget you.
Yeah, maybe you want to forget me. I just want to say something about the challenge that we have some packets left. The packets are $5 a piece plus the Minnesota sales tax. And in your packet, you get, remember, all of this fits in a number 10 envelope. So it's itty bitty. So you get a piece of Dupont silk that's about 4 by 6, a piece of another weird fabric that's also 4 by 6. You get a strip of recycled sari silk, which is all crumpled up. It's meant for knitting. So you can do what you want with it. And my screen just went blank, so I hope, yeah, all right, doesn't matter. Anyway, and if you want to get a packet or more, you can come to a Saturday meeting. We'll have them there. this Saturday and then at the April meeting also. You can order packets when you do your registration for the show. You can get them through the Square online store at the Minnesota Quilters website. You could drop into the office when it's open and beg, and they'll give you one. And let's see, I think, did I hit them all? Brenda, help me. I think I hit them all. Okay. And anyway, oh, and the theme this year, what we want you to do is you need to create a small wall hanging. The maximum size is 64 inches perimeter. And it's called Stars and Silk, or no, Silk and Stars. And so you need to make your packet or your entry with 2 stars. And I don't have them handy here, but the one sample I made is a star and a star. The ones Pat made was 2 stars side by side. Not very tricky, but I'm sure we have a lot of creative people out there. Always surprises us what you dream up. And I will say that my sample is really wonky and lumpy. And I I would like to say I did that deliberately so nobody would feel bad, but no, it's just wonky and lumpy. Okay. So anyway, that's what I needed to say, and I'm done. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Karen. That's awesome. And we're on to our part of show and tell. Is Linda here?
Linda?
Okay, Linda.
No, different
Okay,
Linda. No.
okay. She loved the one block wonder. That's the back of the quilt. She took the panel and she made a jacket out of it. She purchased 8 panels instead of 7, so she could use panel pieces on both the front and the back and fill in with hexes. And she finished it. It's lovely, I think. I hope to see it someday in person. Next. That's the panel that she used, the front and back of the jacket. She had enough hexes and pieces to go to a table runner or wall hanging. So I believe that this is the panel. Is Jude here?
Yes, I
Yes.
am. I did a series of protest quilts. They've all been out at various protests, and the first one I made was Ice Out, Elbows Up. And on the back, I used some boat material that I had found. But if you want to go to the next slide, I saw the Rebellion loon and put it on the back of this one at a later date. But I took a class in St. Cloud with Jane Sassaman, and that really, the Rebellion loon combined with Jane Sassaman's technique led me to the next slide, and so the Rebellion loon on Dive Deep is leftovers from the first one, the first Rebellion loon, and I actually like this second one, better. That's my favorite one I've made so far. And then the third one is actually the final leftover from the first Rebellion loon. It's kind of the outline, and she had this class. Jane Sassaman had this class where you'd cut things out and then you'd use whatever was left over to make something else, and it made something else. And I really had fun. I've had fun with her technique. And now I have 3 protests. signs.
I
How large did you make them, Jude?
Hmm?
How large are they?
The dive deep, rise up, break ice is the largest one, and it's maybe I have 36 by 50, but and then the other two, the ice out is maybe 24 by 36, and the Jessica para todos is the smallest one.
They're very nice, Jude. Thank you for sharing.
Really good.
Yep, we're good.
Ready?
Yep.
That's it.
No, there's
that
a
was-
couple, there's a couple more
Oh,
after that.
from
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I don't know
retreat.
why we have an empty slide in there, but we do.
Okay.
This is Ann Miller, I believe.
Martin.
Martin, and she's at February Day Retreat. Is Ann here? I don't think so. And there's another, I don't know who made the panel, but that's really lovely too.
It was Karen, and I forget her last name. But
Oh, okay. Next slide is, that's really pretty. And then the 3-leaf clovers. Irish time.
yeah, we'll try to get names next time.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
all good.
the one on the left was made by a friend of mine. Her name's Lori Mayer.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually a flannel that she was using. And
Oh, okay.
somebody else at the retreat also had that same flannel in their stash, and it's like 15 years old. So it was kind of funny they both had the same fabric.
I think Carolyn. I
Carolyn
don't know if,
Davis.
yeah, Davidson.
Those are
Also,
cool.
at that. Yep. Ready?
Yep. And there's the table runner, I believe. That's really pretty.
Yeah. And that's Jean, another Jean.
Awesome. Awesome. And I think that's the end.
All
Does
right.
anybody have any questions, comments? Or we'll end the
Go
meeting.
back to the one quilt with the window looking, it was like 3 slides back, or is it already gone? The
Chima.
Which one?
it had the squares on it. It was the one before the clover leaf.
Oh,
You like?
so slide 28, Jean.
I don't get the numbers. Was it one of these guys?
You're not sharing.
Well,
Third one
I'll
from
go.
the bottom.
I'll go slow. Not that one.
I think it's the one where Anne is in. Anne
Oh,
Martin.
got it. Where Anne did this.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions in the chat?
No, there's no questions in the chat. Did you find the quilt?
Jean, you weren't sharing your screen.
Oh, maybe that's the issue. I can see it.
Well, yeah, that's all good.
I'm like going back and forth, going, no one's talking. Okay.
Is that the one you were talking about, ma'am?
Yep, that's
Oh.
it. Thank you.
This guy. Okay.
Okay.
And next step is prairie points all around the edge. So,
Awesome. Those are all cool quilts. Okay. Well, you all have a lovely day, evening, and don't forget to spring ahead on Saturday or Sunday or whatever you do it. And we have the meeting on Saturday, so come and join us.
Good night,
bye,
everybody.
guys.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
I
Right.